Good day, everyone. I am Sir Jerickson, and for today, we will be discussing our last module in Computer Science 3. So, last meeting, we have already discussed the use of arrays in JavaScript on how we can declare, use, and implement it in our code. Last time, we also discussed the use of the different methods such as the push and pop, unshift and shift, as well as the splice. So for today, our focus will be on the use of array, sort, and search, as well as the use of session handling. What will be our goal for this discussion? First, we need to understand how other array methods can be implemented, how we can implement JavaScript sort method, as well as use array methods to implement search tasks in JavaScript. Now let's just have first a little bit of review of our last topic on the use of the array methods. So we have declared here a variable called programs, and inside our programs we have four elements, which is JavaScript, Java, Fortran, and Swift. Now we use the first method, which is pop. Remember, pop method allows you to delete at the end of our array. So in this case, we're going to delete the Swift here. Now we also have programs.shift. You're going to remove the element at the beginning, which is the JavaScript. Push allows you to add element, okay, on our array. In this case, we're going to add C# at the end of our element. And we also have here unshift, which allows you to add element at the beginning of our array. So in this case, we're going to add Python as our first element. Now we also have here splice. So in splice, remember that when you use 0 as your first value here, it means you're going to, on the second value, okay, it means that you're going to add elements, okay, here. Okay, but if you're going to use 1 or greater than 1 numbers, you're going to remove. Okay, we're going to remove elements. Okay, now the 2 here indicates the index in which you're going to remove because we have numbers greater than 1. Okay, so here we're going to remove at index 2 2 elements because we indicated here 2. Okay, so in this case, we're going to remove Fortran and C# because we have index 0 for Python, Java 1, Fortran is 2, and C# is 3. So with this particular scenario, if we print out programs, the result will be Python and Java. Okay, now let's proceed on sorting method. So the sort method allows you to arrange your array alphabetically. So let's take a look at this particular example. We have region 12. In this case, we have the following elements such as we have South Cotabato, Cotabato City, Sultan Kudarat, Sarangani, and General Santos City. So using that sort method, you just need to place the name of the variable, then that sort. This will be arranged alphabetically. So if we're going to arrange out the element alphabetically, we'll start with Cotabato City, that's the first one. Then the second will be Gensan. The third one will be Sarangani. The fourth one will be South Cotabato. And the last will be Sultan Kudarat. So if we're going to print this out, this will be the arrangement. So as you can see, Cotabato, Gensan, Sarangani, South Cotabato, and Sultan Kudarat. Now, if we want to reverse it, we can also use the dot reverse method. But the first thing that you need to do is to sort it first alphabetically in order for you to reverse it. Okay? Now, same scenario, we have region 12, region 12 that sort, okay, which will be arranged alphabetically. Then we have region 12 that reverse to reverse it. Okay? Now, if we're going to print it out, the result will be Sultan Kudarat, South Cotabato, Sarangani, General Santos City, and Cotabato. Now, the sort method can also be implemented in numeric values. So let's take a look at this particular code. So we have declared here two functions, which is function A and function B. The function A allows you to sort the number as string. Sir, why is it string? It's because when we input elements in our arrays, this is considered as strings first, especially in numbers. The sort method will then have an incorrect output for this. It's because it is considered as string. Okay, so let's take a look at my function A first. Now we have points that sort, because points is the name of our variable for the different elements, and then we're going to print out points, okay, inside our demo. So if we're going to implement this using a button, okay, if we're going to sort it out, this will be the result. So we have 1, 10, 100, 25, 40, and 5. So as you can see, it's not arranged in ascending order. It's because this is considered as a string. Now, using this method, it compares the ASCII values of each of the characters. So it means when we have numbers, the first number is the most important aspect that you need to check first for the arrangement. So as you can see here, 1, 2, 4, 5. So that will be the arrangement regardless of the succeeding numbers beside it. So as you can see on the ASCII numbers, it follows this particular order. Okay, now on the second function, as you can see here, we have a function inside the sort method. So this function allows you to compare the two values for each of the element. So as you can see, we have function AB, A and B, that will be the two numbers, and then return A minus B. So using this method, okay, we can then sort out the arrays in ascending order. Okay, don't forget to remember function AB, that will be the arrangement, and you're going to return A minus B to sort it in ascending order. Okay, now if you want to have a descending order, you just need to return B minus A, okay, to get the descending order. Again, function AB, return A minus B for ascending. Descending is function AB, return B minus A. You just need to follow this syntax in order for you to sort numbers, okay? Okay. Let's continue. In arrays, we can also find the minimum and maximum value in our array. So we can create these two functions, okay, as you can see here. So we will be applying the mat.min.apply for the minimum and mat.max that apply for the maximum. So on the parameter of this particular method, we have null and r. R will be your local variable, as you can see here, and r is also this one. You just need to follow this to get the minimum and maximum value. Okay, again, we just need to follow this syntax to get the minimum and maximum value of our numbers. So don't forget the argument that you will be placing. Again, the argument that you will be placing for your function will be the name of your variable, which is points for the array. Okay, so this is the output for the particular code. Now, in summary of our discussion for the sort method. So the sort method can be used to arrange elements of array alphabetically. However, when sorting numerical values, a compare function is needed. It will compare each element of the array and sort them. Sorting arrays will help in finding directly the minimum or maximum value in the array. But this method can be inefficient. You can use the mat.min.apply and mat.max.apply method to easily find the minimum and maximum values, respectively.
You've probably heard the word cookie thrown around on the internet, and you have probably seen a banner like this pop up on your browser window, asking for permission to use cookies. But what are they? And why are they used? And how do they work? Let's find out. A cookie is a very small text file that gets stored on your computer by websites. When you visit a site, it will send a cookie from its server to the device you are using. It's a sort of digital fingerprint that helps identify you as a unique user, so you can be recognized when visiting the same website again. Web browsers store each cookie in its own file, and this lets the websites access the information inside of them. For example, when you log into a website for the first time, it will store a cookie on your device containing a unique ID number. When you visit the same site again later, it will recognize the ID number in the cookie and log you in without asking you for your login credentials. Websites can use cookies for various other reasons, including keeping track of your online shopping cart, remembering your technical preferences like language or color, and tracking visits to a website for analytics purposes. In that way, cookies are pretty useful as they improve user experience. They act as a double-edged sword as they are useful for websites, but they can also be a privacy-breaching source. For example, you visited your favorite e-commerce website and browsed a pair of sunglasses, but didn't make a purchase. Later you will see ads for the exact sunglasses while browsing other websites. This is because the e-commerce website's ad platform sets a cookie on your device which will track your movement across other websites. When a website you are visiting uses the same ad platform, it will recognize you from the cookie stored on your device and displays personalized advertisements about the same sunglasses on the page you are browsing. A bit concerning, right? That is why many major privacy laws have restricted the use of such cookies without getting web users' permission. Hence, why you see websites use cookie banners to obtain and control consent for cookies. Consent management platforms like CookieYes can help you to easily add a cookie banner to your website and manage cookie consent to comply with laws like GDPR and CCPA. Sign up for free and make your website cookie compliant.
So let's proceed to session handling. So specifically on the use of cookies and local storage. So our objective is to use cookies and local storage as a means of establishing sessions. So with cookies, this allows the website to keep track of your information for customization. So the purpose of it is to avoid having to do things or give data over and over again to our browsers, and which allows you to remember who you are and what your preference is. So cookies are actually strings of information that are basically stored in the browser as a text file, say for example, your username, your display setting, and even your session key. So actually, cookies is developed by Lou Montulli, which is a web browser programmer, and he derived cookies from the fortune cookie. So this magic cookie is a packet of data that is received and sent back, which is being unchanged from our users. So how can we implement cookies in our browsers? So we will be using document.cookie. So this property is creating and accessing and deleting cookies as well. So inside our document.cookie, we can place here a string pair, okay, which includes your ID and the value. Okay, we can also use expiration date and time using the keyword expires. Okay, remember, if you want to have an expiration date for your cookies, we can use the keyword expires. Okay, cookies will be saved using another keyword such as path. It means the current path that will be the directory for the cookies. Let's say, for example, we have Mrs. D for your username. Okay, so again, this is the ID, or also known as the name. Okay, this is your name or the ID. So Mrs. D is the username, and then expires. Okay, this will be expired on this particular date, and then the path will just be the default one. Okay, so this can be implemented, and if you want to read or access all the cookies that has been used, okay, you may just declare a variable called save cookies, and then just place document.cookie to read and access all the cookies that was placed. Okay, so again, this is the syntax in which you can apply cookie on your browser. Okay, let's proceed. So cookies in web pages allows you to ask the name of a user. Okay, this is a particular scenario, and the next time the user visits the page, a welcome message with the user's name is displayed. Okay, so how can we do it? So the first method that you can use is the set cookie. So set cookie allows you to initialize the values of your cookie. Say for example, we have here username and this username. So var key indicates this one, which is the ID, or also known as the name, and the var value will be this one, okay, which will be the value of your variable. So again, When you set cookie, we have two parameters. We have the variable key and the variable value. So note that the angle braces means that they are placeholders and the quotation marks are used to indicate the values as string. So if we want to implement a particular set, as you can see here, you just need to declare function and then set cookie, variable key, and variable value. And then we can use document that cookie is equal to var key plus equals to var value. Okay, and then using this set function, we can now have, okay, username, this username as our initial value for this code. Okay, next, once we have already set the value for the cookie, we will also be getting the value of the cookie. So what will be the parameter? It's just the variable key. Remember, again, the variable key will be needed to get the cookie. This will retrieve the values of your cookies stored in your browser. So you can see the command in the function that splits the cookie string at semicolons, okay, which allows you to get the value pairs in the cookie. So this will be the code that you need to follow. Again, this will be the code that you need to follow, okay, to get a particular cookie. You don't need to change anything for this. You just need to follow this, okay? Now, the username is derived by splitting the string stored in the cookie, which is this one. Okay, this is indicated by this one. Splitting, yes, stores, ayan. So each key pair is separated by the semicolon, so as you can see here. Then the key and the value is separated by an equal sign. So this is the indication for that one. Okay, so later on, if you're going to implement this on your project, again, you just need to follow this syntax. You don't need to change anything. Okay, next, we also have here to check the cookie. This is used to check if there are cookies stored in our browser. So if there is a username cookie stored in the browser, the username is retrieved and used for the welcome message. If there are no cookies, the user is prompted to enter a name. So what you're going to do is, on this particular code, you can declare here a variable user and you can get the cookie with the particular name or the ID. So we have implemented username here, as you can see. Okay, that's the name of ID that we have placed. And then our if statement, if it's not equal to blank, okay, we're going to welcome again the particular cookie. Okay, so in this case, the save value that we have used is, this is username. Okay, so you're going to welcome, this is username, if it's already set in your browser. Else, if the user is not, this is username, okay, we will prompt there that you need to enter the name. Okay, so make sure that it's not blank or null, okay, and then we can just place, or we can just set cookie again, okay, and then this will expire in 30 days, okay. So that's how we can answer the particular scenario, which is creating a welcome message, okay, that can be displayed. Okay, so in local storage, to make sure that cookies do not take up bandwidth and slow down the loading of web pages, they should have a small file size and small amount of information. Another downside of cookies is they must be sent along with each request. But with web storage, this is created by the World Wide Web Consortium, do not have to be sent to a server each time. It means it's more on the client side. More data is available for the website without having to sacrifice the loading time, and user data is more secure. So if we are going to implement cookies, it's more on the server side, while web storage is focused on the client side. So there are two objects for web storage. We have the local storage and the session storage. So when you use local storage, this stores data that is not deleted even when the browser is closed. It opens the web page. The data stored in local storage can be used again. Okay, it will not be deleted even the browser is closed. But with session storage, it stores data that is present only for the duration of the user's time. Okay, That's why it's called a session. Okay? So browser is closed, data is being deleted. Data stored in this object is also available when the page is reloaded or refreshed. Okay? It will just be removed if the browser is closed. Okay, so let's say for example, we want to implement the local storage. So we have here, if type of storage, okay, just follow this syntax, is not undefined, it means there is already a data, okay. We just need to set, okay, it's not undefined. Type of storage is not undefined. We can set a value for that. Say for example, greeting will be the name, okay, that will be the name, and hello world will be the value, okay. So if we want to print it out, so we have already set it, you just need to use the local storage that get element and then the name of the set element. So as you can see, greeting, we can just print out hello world, okay. Okay, that's how we can do it. Now else, if the browser does not support local storage, sorry, your browser does not support web storage. Okay, so that's how we can use that. Okay, so to explain further local storage, so as you can see here, when using local storage that set item, it needs a key and a value, which accepts two arguments. Okay, so the key and value for the data being saved, if the key already exists in storage, the value will be overwritten. But if you want to that get element, you just need to get the key. Okay, so the key name indicates or retrieves the value of that particular key. Additional methods that can be used for local storage are as follows. We have local storage that clear, which allows you to remove all key pairs stored in your local storage. And we also have remove item, which indicates the key that you want to remove in your particular storage. Okay, so on local storage, it's the same as session storage, as you can see here. Same implementation, you just need to change if it's local or session storage. Okay. Okay, so this is another example. Say for example, the type of local storage is undefined. You need to enter the username. And then once that is entered, okay, you need to store. Okay, we're going to store the local storage using the username, okay, that you have used. Okay, once we have your username, okay, if it's not stored in the local storage, okay, we're going to set the item as your username with your name. Okay, your name. Your name is this one. So we're going to place your name as the username to be stored in our local storage. Now, if it's already stored in our local storage, then you will be welcome back to that particular session. Okay, and then if it's not yet stored in the local storage, you are not that particular username. And then just to check whether the browser support or not, you may also do this. Okay, sorry, your browser does not support web storage. If the result, okay, does not indicate that the browser supports it. Okay, so that's how we can implement it. You can just use this later on to your project. Okay, so in summary of cookies, these are actually used to keep information about the user. By having a cookies, websites can further improve user experiences by remembering the user and their preferences. Web storage provides an alternative to cookies with larger storage spaces without sacrificing the loading time of web pages. Security is also improved because user information is stored and processed only within the user's computer. Okay, so the methods that can be used for local storage and session storage are listed as follows. So we have .set item, .get item, we have clear and remove item. So this is also similar with the use of the session storage. Okay, so that ends our lecture. So congratulations for finishing and completing Computer Science 3. Okay, so we are at the end of our discussion and end of our class routine. So congratulations everyone, and that ends Computer Science 3.